They thought he was an easy target, a man with nothing left, but they were wrong. This broken man was once a U.S. soldier, trained to survive, trained to kill, and now it's their turn to bleed. The film opens with statistics. In Latin America, kidnapping is an industry. Every 60 hours, someone is abducted, and 70% of victims are killed. Mexico City is one of the worst environments in the world. Into this city arrives John Creasy, visiting his old friend Ray Rayburn, another former intelligence operative who has built a comfortable life in Mexico. Over drinks, Creasy admits he has been doing nothing, drifting between Colombia and unnamed places, drinking too much, unable to find purpose. Ray mentions that a local auto manufacturer named Samuel Ramos needs a bodyguard for his young daughter. The kidnapping insurance policy requires one. Creasy agrees, more out of listlessness than ambition. Samuel reviews Creasy's file in the car on the way to the house. 16 years of military service, extensive counterterrorism work, CIA deployments across multiple continents. He asks why someone with this record is now taking private bodyguard jobs. Creasy gives him the honest answer. He drinks. More than he should, and it has affected his reflexes, which is why he is no longer employable by anyone serious. Samuel says he does not mind the drinking, as long as Creasy does the job. He makes one request: do not mention the drinking in front of his wife. At the house, Creasy meets Lisa, Samuel's wife, who is visibly relieved to have an American. Their daughter Peta comes bounding downstairs, 9 years old, sharp-eyed, and constitutionally incapable of not asking every question she thinks of. She shows Creasy around her room with the manner of a small person conducting an official tour and tells him plainly that he is her 5th bodyguard, and she hopes he will not leave, like the others did. He does not yet know what to do with this information. The drive to school establishes their dynamic. Peta fires questions at him continuously. What it is like being a black bodyguard in Mexico, whether he was happy as a kid, his thoughts on the kidnapping crisis, how many people he has protected. He shuts it down firmly. He is there to protect her, not be her friend, and she should stop asking questions. She gets out of the front seat and moves to the back. He knows he has hurt her, and he does not fix it. That night, Creasy cannot sleep. His past surfaces in the dark the way it always does. The operations, the things he did on behalf of governments that he is no longer able to regard as entirely righteous. He does not want to be alive. He puts his service pistol to his head and pulls the trigger. The bullet does not fire. He calls Rayburn, tells him everything, and stands in the rain in the garden until morning. Peta has been watching from her bedroom window. The next day, she says nothing about it. But something in the way she looks at him changes. The turning point is Peta's swimming competition. She places 3rd and tells him on the way home that she will never win. Creasy disagrees. He has been watching. She swims faster than all of them. She just takes too long getting off the starting block. He begins coaching her in the mornings before school, working on the hesitation, timing her, giving her precise technical feedback in the flat tone of a man who does not do encouragement but does do accuracy. She improves faster than either of them expected. He stops being a bodyguard who happens to escort a child and starts being something else he does not yet have a name for. When Samuel and Lisa leave for another city, Creasy is alone with Peta. The training continues. The days pass. By the time of her next competition, she wins, and Creasy, a man who believed himself incapable of joy, is visibly, completely happy for her. On the afternoon of Peta's piano lesson, Creasy clocks the car again. The same vehicle he and Peta both noticed weeks earlier, the one whose license plate she wrote down. When he comes outside after dropping her at the lesson, 2 federal police officers have blocked the road at both ends. He reads the setup in seconds. When Peta emerges from the building, he tells her to run. The shooting starts immediately. He kills 4 of the attackers before he is hit. Critically, multiple wounds, and goes down. Peta is taken. He wakes up in a veterinary clinic. Rayburn has moved him there to keep him away from the corrupt police. The officers who blocked the road were not on duty and have been linked to corruption. A reporter named Mariana Guerrero is already questioning the official story publicly. Meanwhile, the kidnapping ring's leader, a man who operates entirely by voice, known as La Voz, the Voice, contacts the Ramos family, $10 million. Samuel complies, working with Police Lieutenant Victor Fuentes to arrange the drop.
А затем...
The exchange goes wrong. The drop is ambushed by Fuentes and his people, who steal most of the ransom money. The Voice's nephew is killed in the chaos. The Voice calls back and tells the Ramos family that Pita will be lost to them forever as punishment. Creasy is told she is dead. He goes to her room. He reads her diary. She has been writing about him since nearly the beginning. His seriousness, his sadness, the way he coached her, the way he looked at her at the swimming competition when she won. She loved him the way a child loves someone who finally shows up and stays. He finds the license plate number she wrote down in her careful 9-year-old handwriting the morning she noticed the car. He calls Mariana and asks for everything she can find on it. Rayburn supplies him with weapons and equipment. Creasy begins working through the chain of people responsible. He interrogates the gate driver, removing a finger to accelerate the conversation, then kills him. He traces the chain to a nightclub, kills the middleman known as the Jersey Boy and another associate, and rescues a kidnapped girl who had been held there. He recovers an ATM card with incriminating transaction records and hands both the girl and the card to Mariana. She tells him that Fuentes is part of the Brotherhood, a corrupt network of officials, police, and criminals called La Hermandad that operates across the city. Manzano, a homicide detective, gets pulled into Creasy's orbit through Mariana. Rayburn sits across from him and describes Creasy in precise terms. An artist of death, he says, the kind of man who, when he has committed himself to a course of action, will not stop until every person responsible is dead. Not a threat. A statement of fact about someone's capabilities. Manzano decides to help, rather than stand in the way. Creasy ambushes Fuentes' motorcade with a rocket-propelled grenade and abducts him. He straps explosives to his body and extracts everything. Fuentes and his officers hijack the ransom drop. But by then, most of the money had already been taken by Jordan Kalfas, Samuel's lawyer. After killing Fuentes, Creasy searches Kalfas' home and finds him decapitated, along with documents revealing bank account details that lead directly to Samuel Ramos. He confronts Samuel at the house and puts Lisa on the phone. He walks Samuel through the math quietly and without emotion. $10 million paid, $5 million unaccounted for. What is 10 minus 5? Samuel breaks. He tells them everything. Kalfas had proposed the scheme, promising Pita would be returned unharmed in exchange for a staged kidnapping that would pay off Samuel's debts from his father's estate. When Fuentes hijacked the drop and the Voice executed Pita in response, Samuel murdered Kalfas in a rage and believed he had buried it. Lisa, listening on the phone, cannot speak for a moment. Then she tells Creasy to kill her husband, or she will do it herself when she gets home. Creasy does not comply. He leaves Samuel alone in a room with a handgun and the bullet that misfired on Creasy the night he tried to end his own life. Samuel uses it. Mariana and Manzano trace the ATM card to the Voice's wife and find an address. Mariana publishes the Voice's photo in the paper, despite threats from the Brotherhood. Creasy captures the Voice's wife and his brother, Aurelio. He is shot in the chest during the confrontation. And then he learns, Pita is alive. She was never killed. The Voice lied to punish the family while keeping his leverage. Creasy calls the Voice directly. He threatens his family. The Voice, who has been entirely in control throughout, finally proposes a trade. Pita for his brother and for Creasy himself. Creasy agrees immediately. He calls Lisa and tells her to meet him at the exchange point. On an overpass, Pita crosses to him and he holds her. He tells her that he loves her. He tells her that everything is going to be okay. He sends her back to her mother. Then he and Aurelio get into the Voice's vehicles and Creasy is taken. He has been bleeding internally since the chest wound. He is dying, and he knows it. He dies in the back of the car, at peace, having done the one thing that gave his broken life meaning. Peta narrates the epilogue in voiceover. She tells us that the people responsible were caught, that Daniel Sanchez, the man behind the voice, was eventually identified and brought to justice, that her mother sold the house, that they moved away and started over somewhere quieter, and that John Creasy, a man who arrived in Mexico City with nothing left, who tried to end his life in the rain and failed, who was given a reason to keep living by a 9-year-old girl who asked too many questions, spent everything he had left on the only thing that mattered to him. She says he was a man who could do what he did and still be at peace at the end. The film ends.